Before we start with the supplicant's prayer, I was thinking about the last session and the idea of having more time to develop the character outside the hunt. And a thing that I realized is that I don't know or I can't picture yet how your stalkers act and behave in their domain. And so before we start, I would like to, before the very moment of the supplicant's prayer, I would like to know how every stalker spends his time in his domain. So
Okay.
maybe, Alessio, maybe you want to start.
Yeah, sure. I have a clear picture of that. So basically, imagine the domain of the Grey Witch as this sort of forest in which there is. I don't know whether you have in mind the Russian legends of the Baba Yaga.
Yeah.
No. So this house with basically this hut with chicken legs. You see something like that.
Yes.
And she's basically, hold on, apologies. As I was saying, and she's caring from some birds from a bath. That's what the Grey Witch is spending time on. It's taking care of these birds that are basically drinking and refreshing themselves in these stone bath, those one you find in gardens and parks. Yeah, this is how she's spending her time in her domain.
My image is also pretty clear to me. Hazard spends time doing the kind of classic post-apocalyptic scavenging, poking into what he can discover of people's lives by investigating like some burned out neighborhood and going through the rooms and collecting any personal information or pieces that he can find, sort of as if it were research to try to recreate or recollect whatever could possibly be remembered of the people. So he spends a lot of time roaming around, and one thing that I think is that his domain at least kind of borders on the Shadowlands that was created, and so sometimes he kind of ventures into pseudo dream space to go out there, but his domain is where he keeps all these things. So it's almost like a bunker, almost like a survivalist. Maybe a ruined building on top, and then these basements and things underneath, and with all these personal things, cataloged and badly all over the place.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I think Lilith is working very hard to make up for the life that she didn't have. So she's got, all of these impossible books and impossible records, recordings of Neolithic music and, books that were never written, movies that were never made. And she spends all of her time, just like taking it in,
Yeah, it's great. And as you're in your domain, you can hear this voice, this prayer, signaling that a supplicant is making a prayer, is praying for help, and this is a very formalized prayer, some sort of ritual. Although you can sense that this is not an enlightened supplicant. In fact, you can hear this supplicant praying hell for help and forgiveness, so that the scream of the dead can just cease and so that the blood will stop spilling between the houses, and you can hear chanting, and you can almost feel the burning flames and the offer of silver, and just like that, even if it doesn't, even if it isn't an enlightened prayer, it must be something very important. Due to the fact that the primal powers interceded for this kind of ritual. And just like that, you're evoked as a circle in front of the navigator.
Wow.
And just like the last time, you can see that is this enormous gargantuan vermin, and his eyes are glistening with a faint recognition of you stalkers. Yeah, it's kind of like he's dreaming, and he's seeing you through his dreams. So it's not completely awake, but his eyes are kind of recognizing you, and he swallows you again. Nasty and pleasant sensation. And as you fall infinitely, you are stopped again, between the flesh and the dream, just as the guardian manifests himself. You are in an hotel hallway, and you can see that there is a piano, and it's a very fancy hotel. So everything is covered in this kind of kitsch, gold glistening all over the place, and there's an elevator at the other side of the room, and the entire room is on fire. There are flames engulfing the furniture, the piano, and devouring the walls, with a fierce sensation of hotness and the idea of almost suffocating to the ashes produced by this fire. And there is some kind of music produced by speakers that apparently are not there, but there's some kind of music that is produced, that is the Clair de Lune by Debussy, and but it's distorted, sort of like a dreamlike sensation of this music. And in front of you, there's the Guardian, which I'll show you through an image. They look at you with this kind of faceless expression, and then they speak in unison, and they say, "Business?"
Yes, important business. Life and death.
And as the fires, as you reply, as Lilith replies, the fires are like advancing and burning even hotter, and the strange duo speaks again. "We are closed now. Please go away."
We must establish again a natural order of things in the domain of human beings. Let us pass.
I'll hold up my key of compassion, and I'll say, "Who are we except the screams of the dead?"
The stalkers. And the two kind of separate themselves and point at the elevator. "Please, follow the instructions."
No, we didn't get insulted this time. That's great. Okay.
Well polite.
What? Before they change their minds, I'm going to the elevator.
Yeah, let's go.
So you enter the elevator, and as the door closes, the music gets even louder and sort of more distorted, and it feels like you have a sensation of nausea, and you feel dizzy. And just the moment as the elevator starts, you faint and fall into this blackness. And just like that, you end up in the dream, just like in a moment. The moment before you're just fainted, and the moment after you're manifest in the dream. Before you manifest fully, the weavers are shaping your vessels, and so this is as I was saying, a good moment if you want to think again about your scores and how you want to change them, or maybe you want to have the same scores. But yeah,
Done.
let's just say that we are all ready, and
my fellow stalkers might see this as we fall toward the dream, but Lilith actually instructs the stalkers to give her vessel a human face this time, and it's the face of the supplicant Annalise from last time. And she says,
okay.
the Grey Sage has her martyrs, and Hazard has his badges and ID cards.
Right.
This is my way of remembering.
Okay. All right.
Okay. The first thing you see as you manifest yourself in the flesh is this kind of longhouse, and I will say that the easiest thing is to show you the landscape you arrived.
Wow, that's very compelling. Okay.
Okay, and you can see this sort of barren land and these patches of lands separated by different streams of water, and at your back you can observe the sea, and while in front of you can see how the land moves to the hills, and then there's some higher mountains covered by snow. But right now in front of you, there's a longhouse, and it's made of mud, and the door is open, and you are close enough to see that it's some sort of I would say that it's a strange mix of a temple and at the same time some sort of a apartment for the person or the priest that recalled you. And you can see him. He's right in front of a bonfire. Right now he's not facing you, and is sacrificing, apparently in some kind of ritual way, a lamb by cutting his throat and offering to the fire with some silver, just like the prayer said. And he's like mumbling and chanting, and is not right now is ignoring you. And just beside him, you can see a woman observing like in respectfully from a distance without interrupting, and in the fields on your left, there are some people conducting what it seems to be a flock of sheep. And so they're just herding, but they're in the distance and they're just ignoring you right now. And right now, I would ask you for a mystery roll check.
Sure.
So again, it's an easy one.
Okay. So basically, it's 6 plus 2, 8.
Yeah, it's not enough.
13.
Okay.
Nice. 9 for me.
Right. So this time it's kind
Okay.
of flipped. I'm the one who
Yes.
who has a
Yeah,
a
plot
better-
twist.
Right. Well, I think it's kind of
Yeah.
interesting that different stalkers arrive at hunts and different ones are oriented this time. That's kind of an
And
interesting.
I feel that it's
feature.
very interesting that you, of all stalkers, got the bigger picture, because it's so different compared to your experience of the post-apocalyptic. But it's
Right.
fun at the same
That's
way.
fine.
Yes.
There's lots of reasons for that. So, okay. What do
So-
I get, or rather, what do I realize, or how am I oriented at this point?
Yes. I was thinking that in general, Lilith and the Grey Witch had this sensation of being in some sort of medieval society, and they're in some kind of in some part of the Iceland, but they're not very well oriented about the period and the specific place. While you, Ron, get the bigger picture, and right now you are in Kagafjörður. I'm sure I pronounced this so badly, but the period is the most important, because yes, you were in Iceland, and this is the first time. This is the first wave of colonization. So you're kind of like in the 9th century,
Right. Right.
specifically the second half of the 9th century, and these are probably one of the first waves of settlers, and you can get they're not kind of like they didn't establish a village or some kind of order in the stricter sense. There are a series of farm seats that you
Right.
can even observe at the distance, and it seems like autonomously organized
Yes.
between each other.
All right.
And yeah,
I will indicate. Okay. Lilith, in which I know where this is. This is a small. These are the small communities. They're farms. They are living in a harsh land, and they're. I kind of find I slump a little. Well, they're barbarians.